Hey, what's up guys, it's TheSandov. We are now going to go over the Vykas Legion Raid Phase 3 mechanics. This will be for the normal and hard mode. Hard mode mechanics will be explained at the end of the video. Before I start, I want to mention that you must take sleep bombs and time stop hourglass as your battle items. Whirlwind grenade is not necessary, but I highly recommend it. So with that being said, let's get started. In this battle, you are gonna face against Vykas, and as far as setting positions for mechanics, there is only one, but people usually send party 1 to the left side and party 2 to the right side. They will deal with killing tentacles in a mechanic that I will go over later on. Also, there will be 4 cleansing orbs available in the map, 1 in each cardinal direction, north, south, east and west. Before heading into the battle, players will usually type 963 or 369. This indicates which orbs will be taken first in order. If 963 was the call, then the 9 o'clock position cleansing orbs will be taken first, then 6 o'clock, and then finally 3 o'clock. You can use the extra cleansing orb as a backup. These cleansing orbs will reduce your seduction gauge, which I will explain first. You'll notice that there is a gauge bar above all players' name tag. This is the seduction gauge. This seduction gauge will rise when getting hit by Vykas attacks. Having above 70% will give an attack buff, but at the same time you will take more damage. Having 100% will make you lose control of your character and force you to PvP players in the raid. Needless to say, you want to avoid hitting 100% on the seduction gauge as much as possible. However, if someone does turn, you can use the sleep bombs to sleep them and decrease their gauge back to normal. Having 0 seduction gauge will give you a damage debuff, so in conclusion, you want to be able to manage your gauge because there is going to be mechanics in this raid that require you to do so. Okay, now that you understand that, let's talk about the very first mechanic that will happen at 170 health bars. Vykas will teleport to the center and send out a shockwave that will give all players a buff or a debuff. 2 players will have a debuff and the rest will have a buff. After a set amount of time, this buff/debuff will drop an aura on the ground where you stand. The buff will drop a movement speed aura and the debuff will drop a slow aura. You can also know which buff you have if you pay attention to the words on your character that come right after the shockwave. Brown is a slow debuff and blue is the speed buff. Vykas will then taunt everyone to run over to her in the center and cast a one-shot attack move. For this mechanic, have people with this low debuff stand on the 9 o'clock position of the map, 1 in the backside and 1 in the front side. All players with the speed buff stand nearby but don't get too close to the people with the debuff. Wait until your aura drops on the ground, then move into the backside where the player dropped the furthest debuff from the boss. That way when the boss taunts everyone, no one will reach the kill zone because all players are heavily slowed. Now that you've passed this mechanic, the next mechanic will happen at 155 health bars. You will need a player with a seduction gauge above 70% on this mechanic. Vykas will disappear and statues of her will spawn in random locations around the center. However, if your seduction gauge is above 70%, you will not see statues, you will instead see swords. The goal here is to find out which spot has both the statue and the sword and run over to it. Have players that are above 70% gauge ping the sword locations. That way when players that see the statue see the ping on one of their statues, they'll know immediately that one is the safe spot. Okay, on to the next mechanic that will happen at 135 health bars. Vykas will fly up in the air and strawberries will drop all over the map. Run to the first orb location that was indicated by your team in the beginning of the raid and activate it. This orb will then cast an aura that will decrease your seduction gauge all the way to 0. All players need to be at 0 gauge for what happens next. Everyone will get a cutscene and you must type the keys in order in this minigame. This will happen twice. Any player with seduction gauge will insta-fail in here. If every player succeeded on the minigame, Vykas will be stunned in the center of the arena and you will pass this mechanic. If 1 or more players fail, it will be pointed out in the tooltip right after the cutscene. 4 people failing means wipe. If 1 or more fail, Vykas will gain a shield and send out a damaging shockwave that will knock everyone down. Supports have to use their shields to protect against this shockwave. Also, when you fall and get knocked down, do not press the spacebar to get back up, as she will do a flying attack that will target a random player, so you must stick together with your team to avoid this attack. She will either attack in a line first, then attack the outside, or attack the outside first, then the inside. Just know that at the end of this, she will land in an area and you must move in with the boss to avoid the big damage that comes afterwards. I recommend using Sidereal skill Nineveh here right after the cutscene to damage the boss, since Vykas will be standing right in the middle and it'll be a free hit. Okay, the next mechanic will happen at 120 health bars. Vykas will mark players with a debuff that will drop a Seduction Increase aura. For this mechanic, everyone must stand together and raise their Seduction Gauge to 100%. She will then spawn a Blood Moon that will blow up and kill any player that is not at 100% gauge. This mechanic is simple, you just have to remember to stack together. The next mechanic will happen at 102 health bars. Vykas will teleport to the center of the arena and shortly after will have an impairment mechanic. For this mechanic, all players must head over to the second selected orb to reduce their Seduction Gauge. Once your gauge is at 0% or low enough, head over to the boss and impair her. This is because she will have a big aura around her that increases your gauge over time, and you must successfully impair her before the two giant blob dudes explode, killing everyone. To avoid getting wiped here, use your hourglass right after you impair the boss, avoiding the wipe. At 75 health bars, Vykas will do the very first mechanic again. You are all familiar with it now. She will teleport to the center and give two players the slow debuff and the rest of the players the speed buff. Wait until the aura drops, then move into the slowed area. At 55 health bars, Vykas will teleport to the center and summon tentacles on the map. You can check the amount of tentacles by the icons on the minimap. You must kill these tentacles to pass this mechanic. However, you cannot damage these tentacles unless you are above 70% Seduction Gauge. Also, your Seduction Gauge will slowly decrease during this phase. There will be blood orbs spawning in the middle to all directions. You can take these orbs to increase your gauge, just be careful and don't consume too much. There's also lots of time here, so no rush. A cutscene will play where an orb will consume all players. Vykas will then take a bite and all players will be released. If you failed to kill all tentacles, it will be a wipe. If you succeeded, you can continue to damage her and it's pretty much just a burn to 0 from here. When she gets low, there will be another mechanic, but I recommend using the cleansing orb at around 8 health bars left. This will just guarantee your party won't turn at a critical moment. When she's about to die, a cutscene will play and Vykas will mold. She will then send out a purple silhouette in the center of the arena. During this time, you must find the location of the real Vykas. You can find her in your minimap. At the same time, players must look away from the purple silhouette to avoid the Medusa attack. When the shockwave happens, you'll be safe. The goal is to deplete her stagger bar to 0 to deal the final blow. Use Sidereal skill Way to help you break down the bar. Vykas will also cast a bunch of lasers in front of her, so after successfully facing away from the center, move behind Vykas and use as much stagger skills as possible. Use whirlwind grenades if you have them. Remember that flying attack that happens if you fail the typing game mechanic? She will do that again. Stack together to easily dodge the flying attack, then go into the zone where she lands right after she lands. It is important to know that right after the cutscene, all players will have their gauge slowly increase, so this is a ticking time bomb. Once you deplete her stagger bar to 0, you will successfully complete this raid. There's a red aura that will follow a player right after the purple clone casts a shockwave. This red aura will decrease your Seduction Gauge, so it is important to all stack together to buy a little bit more time. Okay, now let's talk about the important notable attack moves. The most important I would say is the Medusa, because we'll cast shadow helixes in all directions. This indicates that you must face away from the boss. Even one person looking at the boss will make Vykas cast a damaging attack on the map, possibly killing a lot of players. You can change the direction your character is facing by using normal attacks too, so use this to your advantage. Another move is the spiral move. Vykas will do a spiral attack that will attack in a line in front and behind her. Right after this attack, stand behind or in front of her as the lines will then attack the outer zone. Vykas will sometimes cast a half red circle below her. She will then either swing her sword towards red zone or black zone. If she swings at the red zone, stand inside to avoid the outer zone attack. If she swings her sword at the black zone, move to the outer zone because she'll attack the inside. Vykas will also cast a debuff on players that will drop an aura where the players are standing when the debuff runs out. You can see a pink aura on your feet as well if you have this debuff. Move away from the battlefield and your team to drop this aura, then return to the battle. But remember, during the mechanic at 120 health bars, do not run away from your team. Stack together. Vykas will cast a big ritual looking aura around her that will explode. This indicates that she will spawn monsters that will walk through the battlefield but only people above 70% Seduction Gauge can see. A safe spot when this happens is right at the bottom of the arena, and most people just run here when this happens. Vykas will charge a whip and drag players in front of her. She will then grab one player and damage that player while flying into the air. Getting grabbed by this attack will reduce your Seduction Gauge, but you cannot damage Vykas during the animation. When she throws the player out, she will also cast a cross-telegraphed attack every time. I'm sure you know this one already, but the line attack can happen during the battle as well. I'll quickly go over it again. Vykas will fly over your raid and either cast a red line with the outside being safe or multiple red lines with the inside being safe, after which they'll alternate. Vykas will then land somewhere and you must go in to dodge her outer zone attack. The chain attack is quite annoying and could be dangerous. Vykas will spawn portals that will send out chains in a bunch of areas. Getting caught by one of these chains will imprison you, and your party must use multi-attacks to free you. She usually casts this twice in a row. Sometimes Vykas will cast the strawberries that will drop from the sky. Getting hit by the strawberries will increase your gauge quite a bit. At the same time, she will cast an AoE around her or in the outer zone. After this happens, she will alternate. Dodge these strawberries because they'll have a bigger hitbox than this blade. Okay, now let's go over her counter-attack windows. She's got 3 windows available. The first window will be available when she prepares to do a dash attack. If you miss this window, she will then have another window available right after the dash. If you have a dash, you can dash towards her and counter immediately. The other available counter-attack window is when Vykas flies up in the air and does a spiral. Right after, she will pop up and a window will be available. Failing to counter her here will send out blood orbs that will give your character a Seduction Gauge aura. She will also cast a damaging shockwave where she lands first, then in the outer zone. Let's now talk about the hard mode mechanic and move. The mechanic will happen at 40 health bars and it's pretty simple. Vykas will do a telegraphed attack in the center of the map and then the outer zone. She'll then stab her sword into the ground and 4 orbs will come in flying in from the outer zone. The only goal here is to intercept the orbs and smash the spacebar to get released. Wait until Vykas launches a shockwave and you're good to go. Vykas will also have an amplified Medusa move that you must assign players for, as well as cast Medusa twice in a row. Assign 2 players 1 and 2 and 2 other players 3 and 4. She can either have 2 wings open, 1 wing open, or no wings open. No wings open being the regular Medusa. 1 wing open means player 1 must look. 2 wings open mean player 1 and 2 must look. She can then cast again and you must pay attention to the wings one more time. If she opens up 1 wing, player 3 looks, and 2 wings mean player 3 and 4 look. I will show you an example where she opens up 2 wings first, then 1 wing. I hope this video was useful to you and I wish you luck raiding. This is one of the tougher raids and it is a lot to learn. Take it one step at a time. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. See you guys next time.